All right, welcome back to another episode of Poddy Majic. I have got a cracking guest today. This is the first time we've met as well, and I really like it when I've only just met the person because you actually get chatting about all the good stuff, which is good. But he played 194 games for West Coast Eagles. He's a 2018 Premiership player, West Coast Life member. He's got this beautiful, deep, soothing voice, and he's got a spot on 6BR. He's running businesses all over the place. He's also got a podcast called Backchat, which I'm a big fan of, and direct competitor to Poddy Majic. So please welcome the enemy. I mean, not the enemy. No. Will Schofield.
We are a community.
Community, absolutely. And what's funny actually is I'm a massive fan of Backchat. I listen to it flat out.
Well, if we're going to exchange fan stories, I've got to start with this. So,
yeah.
Look, do I watch a lot of TV? Not really, but this one year, I don't know what year it was. You will know.
You didn't.
Mate, I was fucking obsessed with Love Island. Like, never done it again. Never done it before. Just this one season. I'm watching along. Like,
and it was my season.
Oh, it was your season.
Yes.
Right, mate. You were the nice guy.
Yeah,
you were,
I got
the bloke that didn't fit in because you were too fucking nice for all these absolute fucking flamers.
Pretty much.
You kick yourself out of the house. Mate, my missus and I were on holiday somewhere and we literally would start the day and do the breakfast and the kids are running around, blah, blah. And then we'd get a babysitter and put the kids down and watch fucking Love Island on the bed.
It's trash, but it's so good. But
yeah,
dude, I'm the same. But I watch.
Fan to you, mate.
I'm watching Maths at the moment. That's my one. You can't do that. Oh man, if you love Love Island, you better get into that.
No, it was just the one season. I tried to watch another season of Love Island. Hated
Couldn't do it. Yeah. It's because I wasn't there. Obviously,
correct.
Man, I fucking hated Love Island. I hated every second of that fucking thing, bro.
Bet you're happy for me to bring it up.
Yeah. It was actually just the worst. I was there for 42 days, 42 nights.
It looked grim.
It was shit. It's like, because it's 42 days, you're not speaking to your family, your friends. I didn't speak to my mum and dad for 42 days.
You had a drink in there?
You know, if you get a drink, you get one drink. One drink for the night, and that's it.
So you may as well not have a drink.
Yeah, you don't sleep. Like the lights in the bedroom, there was you're so bored, there's just nothing to do. There's 240 of those fluorescent tubes. Yeah. What else you got to do? You got nothing to do. And they're on until they go, all right, cool, we're going to turn the lights off, and they click it off. So it might be 3 a.m, 4 a.m.
It sounds horrid.
It's fucking horrible. Yeah, it's like a good-looking prison. That's what I described it as.
Someone tried to get me to do Survivor last year, and I considered
I could see you doing Survivor.
Well, I might look like I should be on an island castaway, but I considered it, and that was I was like, I think I would get too mentally fragile. I'd lose my mind being somewhere away from family with random people.
Yeah.
So I was like, hats off to you, mate. Very good.
It was tough work.
And what you're doing here, mate, this is cool.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Well, this is a bit of a role reversal because usually
we've started with a full fucking love off there.
Yeah,
I'm allowed to swear, by the way.
I've sworn about as much as you like. Yeah. Right. But a bit of a role reversal where I'm going to be interviewing you, and I can't wait to hear about all of your career. And obviously, I've heard bits and pieces from the podcast because you love dropping your little bits in there as well, which are always great to hear. I want to go right back, and we'll kind of work our way forward. And I love stories. So if you think of something, just fucking go for it. So tell us a little bit about you growing up and your family, and what it was like for you growing up in Geelong.
I was a Geelong boy. So basically coming over here to West Coast, if I fast forward a little bit, like people in Western Australia hate Geelong, right? And Geelong people hate West Coast people because when I was growing up, 89 Geelong lost the grand final to Hawthorn. 91 West Coast lost one. 92 Geelong lost to West Coast. 94 Geelong lost to West Coast. 95 Geelong lost to Carlton.
On there. Yeah.
So every one of those years we dress up our house in streamers and banners. Like, I'm a massive Geelong nuffy. Like as a junior, I'd sit 3 rows back from the opposition bench down at Cardinia Park.
Yes.
Had those seats for the entire time I was there.
Awesome.
Loved my footy. But when I was drafted by West Coast, everyone was flat to the point. My mum, who, God bless her soul, she says she's never watched she's never watched a Geelong grand final as a fan.
Yeah.
So lost all those grand finals. They hadn't won a grand final since 1956.
Yeah, it's a long time.
2006, I get drafted to West Coast. 2007, Geelong beat Port Adelaide in their first premiership win since 1954.
Yeah.
But Mum had converted to West Coast
Yes.
fandom. And she's still a West Coast fan.
Oh, that's so good of her.
So she hasn't seen a Geelong premiership.
Wow. But at least she got one with you, so that's all right.
Correct.
There was one, so that's okay that
Honestly,
she hung in there for
premiership, great. Life moment for me, and did everything to tell me that my time as a footballer was actually validated.
Yeah.
But the real reason was Mum got a premiership.
Totally. I love that. Did it for Mum. That is that good. Holy shit. And growing up, were you into any other sports as well? You had like an athletics background?
Yeah,
We were just talking about before?
I was a runner. So
what distance?
Once again, I'll tell a Mum's story. I was an 800 runner, so Peter Bowl areas.
Great.
So Peter Bowl's my idol. So you showed me before your video with Peter Bowl.
Pretty cool.
Fucking jealous. Gotta be honest. So we had him on the podcast, but we didn't get him in. I think he was hanging around here somewhere.
He was. He was literally.
Mum's house.
His mum's in Thornley. Yeah. So
Correct.
which is like the next suburb over that way.
Correct.
You never, if you're in Canterville, you don't venture to Thornley though.
Right.
So that was like me taking a risk going down that
Southern
way.
River Band, they tell me that they're the greatest thing to come out of Thornley, but I don't know if they've
Peter
clarified
Bowl's
whether
pretty
Peter
good.
Bowl's out of Thornley. Mitch Wisnowski is from Thornley, I believe.
When we did that running around the oval with him, as we're going around, because there's a school right there, man, he's fucking famous there. There's kids walking. There's like a congregation of all these kids going, hey, Peter Bowl.
Bowl. So for me, I was an 800 runner growing up, and seeing Peter Bowl the last couple of Olympics, especially the last one, do so well has been incredible. I had a choice as like a 15-year-old whether to go to Europe and compete as an athlete, as an 800 runner, and do the European circuit. I was good. I was top two. I was medalist at nationals. I was a good runner. Or I had the opportunity to try out for the Geelong Falcons, so the Mick Turner Footy Factory in Geelong.
Yep. So many players from there.
A lot of players come out of there, right? So it's got a great history, and it's because Geelong's such a huge area, they have a big pool of kids to pull from.
Yeah, most definitely.
So every year before the season starts, they invite all the kids from the region down to the Geelong Falcons. And this one year, so 2004, I didn't get an invite. And all my mates, anyone who could literally, if you could look at a footy and look like you could play, you got an invite. There was thousands of kids down there. I didn't get an invite. So someone calls Mick Turner, who ran the Geelong Falcons at the time, and said, why isn't Will Schofield down at training? And he said, mate, I have no idea who Will Schofield is. I've never heard of him, never seen him.
Yeah.
And Mick Turner goes, bad luck, hung up. Next day, are you going to invite Will Schofield down? No. Hang up. Went on for a week. Every day, this person badgering Mick Turner. Bang, bang, bang. Finally, Mick Turner goes, righto, just get him down here. Give him some boots.
I've had enough of these phone calls.
I've seen him. He's a runner. Like, who cares? Just get him down. Got him down there. As the story goes, I get down there. I make the squad of 100. I make the team of 24. I make the state team that year. I get drafted the next year.
Wow.
I play 14 years in the AFL. I win a premiership. The person ringing Mick Turner, my mother.
Oh, yes, Mum. Yes.
So my entire AFL career was due
because
to my
of your
mum.
That on the hustle for you.
And at the same time, I was genuinely trying to decide whether to go to Europe and compete or get an invite down to the most basic of Geelong Falcons training.
I think she thought there was obviously a better pathway that
Mum's
way.
always no, mate. I'm a mummy's boy. Don't worry about
Persistence
that.
beats resistance.
Correct.
I love that.
Very
Yeah.
good.
Just double down and keep going. That's
Yes.
unbelievable. And grew up a Geelong supporter, like you said. Did you have any interactions with any of the Geelong clubs sort of growing up, I guess, being in that area and region and playing for Geelong?
I don't know. So you're a little bit younger than me. You might not know these names, but two guys. I remember the first two AFL players that ever came to our school. Ronnie Burns, who was number 8 for Geelong, and Clint Bizzle. He used to take hangers for a living. He's like Jeremy Howe these days. Just genuinely would just take hangers for fun. And these two guys came down and they played kick to kick. And I still remember to this day, them coming down. So then when I got to the stage where I was an AFL player and we go out to schools, I really made an effort. Some guys, and whether it's a good thing or not, some guys just, oh no, another school visit, got to go hang out with the kids. And everyone enjoys it, but some guys specifically go out of their way. And I used to try to go out of my way to, I don't know, introduce myself to just a little quiet kid in the corner.
Because you're a fucking superhero when you go and talk to the kids that age.
And I knew that because I'd been that kid. And I still remember, Ronnie Burns, he was a good player, but he wasn't this superstar. But I still remember the day Ronnie Burns came to my school. He kicked me barefoot. I remember him taking his shoes off and kicking bare feet. And I was like, it's the best thing I've ever seen. It's the best thing ever. So that was me and Geelong, mate. It was a pretty, Geelong at the time, it's got a lot bigger over the years, but it was a really small town. And it was, Grovedale was where I grew up. similar to Canning Vale, I've got to be honest. Like
Suburbia. Sticks.
Had a great, mum and dad used to take me to all sport, like whether it be athletics or surf lifesaving or cricket or tennis or whatever I wanted to do. Like they went out of their way to make sure I got the best opportunity possible. So as you can hear, I owe a lot to my parents.
Yeah, absolutely. And then up until the age of 15, did you actually play much football, or that was kind of like at that point when that opportunity came up, that's when you started playing a little bit more?
I used to like playing footy, but I was never that like good. I was never like the best and fairest winner with kids. I used to like get coaches awards. The first ever game I ever played of footy, my coach made me tag someone. He thought, he doesn't really know how to play. Just get him out there and run him around. Say, follow number 4.
Yep.
Right? Follow him everywhere. It was St. Joey's red versus St. Joey's blue. And St. Joey's blue had this gun player. His name was Sean. It was like, just follow Sean everywhere. Don't let him get a touch. And I maintain this. He did not have a touch that day. I just ran everywhere with him. His name was Sean Higgins, who played over 250 games for Geelong, Kangaroos and Western Bulldogs. That was under 8s, I reckon, under 7s even.
Wow.
And I tagged him.
That's unreal.
Imagine how flat you'd be rocking up to under 7s. I was kicking, getting tagged.
And you got the can of Coke and the Mars bar after that going, well done, Scully.
You got the $5 Macca's voucher. Yeah, it's bloody good.
And then you mentioned that it went pretty quickly from you playing Geelong Falcons into you getting drafted. That happened quite fast.
Yep.
Tell me about that experience, and was there any interest from any other clubs at the time? How was the draft experience for you?
Yeah, pretty much with the draft. Look, you throw yourself into the draft pool and you can go anywhere. And I was certainly not the kid that was going to go top 10, top 20. I was never touted as that. I was still an athlete who just happened to be playing footy.
Yep.
I was always very competitive. So, the thing that I had as a strength through my career was my competitive element. I didn't like to lose. Yep. And I think that's... People ask like what makes great players or elite players or maybe something they have in common. There's a lot of talented guys, a lot of guys that have got great work ethic, a lot of fitness or they're strong or whatever. The most common trait I found was the competitive element, and the guys that could make it just hated losing. And I was like right up there. Like anything I do now, I'm in media and I hate like losing. I want to be better than everyone, and I want to. So I was like that with footy. So getting drafted, look, I was picked 50 in the draft. I remember my best mate coming around. Just one mate came around, and I remember asking him before the draft, "Do you think I'm going to get picked up?" And he was like, "No, you're not getting picked up. No chance." Anyway, I got picked up, pick 50. And when we won the flag, I got him a signed West Coast jumper, and on the back of it, no one can see it other than him. Said, remember when you told me I wasn't getting drafted? How's this hanging on your wall, motherfucker?
Yes. It was worth it. Correct. All that fucking hard work was all worth just putting that up on his wall.
Correct.
That's elite. And was there any other clubs that were keen as well at the time?
Yeah, Port Adelaide was. Port Adelaide had. They must have had the pick before me, and they were really keen. Mark Chocker Williams was the coach then at the time, and he was a lunatic. Like I remember him at draft camp. He'd pulled me into a room at 9 p.m. at night. He's like, come do this. Went into this room. The whole coaching staff was sitting around. He was like behind, and only light in the room was a laptop. And he was like, watch this clip. Tell me what happens. There's no introduction. Just like sit down. Tell me what's going on. He showed me a kick in. And it was a guy kicking the footy in. And he paused it right as he was about to kick it. And he said, where should he kick it? What should he do? And I first said, I kick it long to the ruckman down the line. He said, nah. I kick it short to this guy. Nah. Kick it down the middle. Nah. I went through about 6 options, and then he goes, Scully, there's no one on the mark, mate. He needs to play on and take the game on. And I was like, damn it, idiot. I'm not getting drafted by Port Adelaide.
Yeah.
They picked up, I'm pretty sure they picked up either Justin Westhoff or Robbie Gray, both great players for Port Adelaide.
Can't be mad.
Yeah, correct. And I went to West Coast the very next pick.
Fantastic.
Which was 2006, right?
Yeah, they've just come off their premiership. Yep. Yeah. So what was that? What was that like when you're walking into that situation?
Not only had they come off the premiership, they just had a decent footy trip in Las Vegas.
Oh, yeah.
Quite a bit of coverage in the media.
Totally.
Look, people externally sort of think, what was it like walking into a footy club then? I have nothing but great memories. Like come into an environment where they're the best in the AFL. Their training standards are the top level. Yes, there was culture issues. Like that's been well covered, and I was in the middle of that. Like we won a wooden spoon 3 years later because we spent every minute of every day trying to change the culture at the footy club. So you can't deny it. But for me as a young kid coming into that environment,
you didn't know any better, really.
No, and And, you know, when we're in the footy club, it was footy. It was training. It was being the best. Like, they were the best. Like, and they were the best for a reason.
You can't win a premiership by accident.
No. Right? And, the guys were great educators. I played with some of the greats of the game of all time. You know, Ben Cousins, Chris Judd, Dean Cox. Like, those three right there. Brownlow medalist and Dean Cox is the best ruckman to ever play the game. So, Darren Glass, Bo Waters. Like, these guys are guys that you're able to learn off. And, you know, it was hard to get a game. Like, I played my first year, but it was hard. It wasn't rocking up to a team that's on the bottom of the ladder and you get gifted games. Like, I was, from the second I was at that club, forced to fight. Yeah. And I fought my whole career, but it was, I don't know, that's how it is. It's good.
And then when you're walking into, like you said, that situation, all those big names, was there anyone that you were going, I'm impressing this guy, first session? What was, like, the first training session like for you?
I remember, it might not have been the first, but I remember... there's a guy called Daniel Chick who, you know, people remember
hard
him.
Man.
Hard, and when you say hard, he might have looked hard. I can tell you right now, that brick wall over there would have been softer than Daniel Chick's body. He was an absolute brick shit house. And there was this drill, it was like a handball draw drill, 3v2, and you just have to draw and get the loose player out. It's like basic 101 footy. Juniors do it. AFL teams do it as well. It's a decision-making as well as a skill drill. And he was a defender, one of the two, and I had the ball, and I was in the middle. So I just had to run at the defender, handball it off, and body contact comes. He ran at me. I drew him. I handballed, hit my handball, and he pretty much stopped. He pulled up. He didn't run through me. And it was like, I just remember the feeling of running into just like a brick wall. It felt like a brick wall. All the air went out of me. I lay on the ground. He stood over me.
You would have been a bit taller than him as well.
I was way bigger than him. And he looked at me and he laughed and he was like, mate, I hit you at 10% then, up you get. And I couldn't move. I was just like an absolute mess. Yeah, it was like sucking him in. Mate, Daniel Chick, you'll appreciate this with the gym and stuff you got set up. He used to do squats and he used to bounce his ass off his calves.
Wow.
So he used to, and he'd be doing like 250 kilos, and he'd be like, watch this, right. Like, get up, bang, snap it over, like, bang, whack, and just like snap his ass off his calves and bounce 3 in a row, thing down, walk out. All right, I'm done, boys. I'm a power athlete. See you later.
Oh, gun.
Animal.
Well, you can't argue with that either.
Yeah, correct. Don't worry. I was 71 kilos wringing wet. Like,
holy shit.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And when did you start getting your first couple of games with West Coast? When that kind of, and were you always defender or no?
Yeah, pretty much was. Like, junior footy, I played a bit as a forward, but I played my best footy as a defender. So I came into the side late in 2007. Played my first game in round 17 against the Bulldogs. We won by 100 points.
Oh, what a great game. Well, not so much of you in the back line.
I sat on the bench. It was back on the day that it's not like rotations now. I sat on the bench until about 10 minutes to go in the second quarter.
Yeah.
They just let me on the bank. Didn't bring me on. Came on, I don't know, had 3 touches, won by 100, got fucking chaired off by Juddy or something.
Beautiful.
Gatorade shower at the end. And yeah, like, great memories though. Like, I still remember my first game and like the feeling, like it was just fast, like how fast it was. I remember it was at Telstra Dome or Etihad or Marvel, sorry. And I remember running out in the ground, being out in the ground for a bit and then forgetting where the bench was. It was so disorientating. But having used to playing school footy and you got to, you know
where it is. You can see the box over there.
You're an iron bar running around the ground if you're lucky. And, you know, you go into this like Coliseum, this stadium, and first time in there, like, you don't know what's going on.
Feel lost, totally.
Yeah. So anyway, I mean, it all turned out well in the end, but that was my first game.
And coach at the time was Woosha?
Woosha, yeah, yep. John Worsfold.
What was your relationship like with him, and was there any sort of little nuggets of feedback or maybe sprays even that sort of came throughout your time, maybe in the early years?
Yeah, it's funny, like looking back on my time with Woosha, I realised how good of a coach he was.
Yeah.
But I think at the time, because he's your boss, right? No one loves their boss. Like, and if you do, they're probably not. They're probably not taking you to where you need to be. Like, the relationship between boss and employees should be a good one and connected, but like, you shouldn't love them. Like, they're meant to make you better. They need to tell you when you're not doing well. And so Woosha was a direct feedback guy. And, you know, at the time when you're in there as a young guy, like, it's difficult. And so his strengths was almost inspiring, motivating you to do stuff without even have to telling you, just the way he held himself.
His presence,
he was just like, his presence as a footballer and then as a coach, and like, you just knew what the expectations were, and the way he held himself was, you know, it was unquestionable. And so, you just knew that's what you had to live up to. Otherwise, it wouldn't last. So, like, that was his strengths. And as a player, I think, like, probably at stages, it would be difficult to have conversations with him, like real ones. You're just sort of almost scared on tenterhooks with him.
There's a power dynamic there.
But like looking back at it, it's like that's how he had to be, and that's why he's a premiership coach. Yep. That's why, you know, we win a wooden spoon in 2010, and the very next year we go back and win play in a prelim. Like, you don't do that if you're not a good coach, and he was a great coach, and I think he's got better in my mind post career.
Yep.
Which is an interesting one. But like sprays, look, mate, this is fact as well. I was the most dropped player in West Coast history.
Is that an actual fact in a book?
Yeah. Yep. So I think in terms of the amount of times I was dropped, now
how many was it?
I wear a lot, and I wear it with a bit of badge of honor sort of thing, because it wasn't like I played 10 games and I got dropped 10. I played almost 200 games.
You were fighting every time.
I'd get back in there. I get back in the ring, mate. So
I get knocked out.
Yeah, correct. I'm trying to think. There was one, like, there wasn't a spray. Woosha, there was one year where we had beards, and I've got a beard now, and I just have a beard. I don't do it for any reason other than I just have a beard. Like, I don't know. It's
that's
like
just how it grows. Yeah, that's just how it is.
I don't know. Like, I could shave it off, but I don't want to, because this is what I like.
Don't explain it to me.
Correct.
Yeah, I get it.
But there was me, Chris Marston, Josh Kennedy, all had beards, and apparently, so the story goes, at a bit of a higher up meeting, Woosha was questioning why are these guys got beards? What are they? They drug dealers? Are they pirates? Bushrangers? Blah blah blah. And Woosha, to his credit, was like, no, they just, it's what, I don't know. I don't have a beard because I don't want a beard. They want a beard. They want a beard. And he was getting pressed by people above him. Anyway, he said, just hang on a sec. So he walked out of the room, got his laptop, Googled a couple of names and came back. And he flipped it around, and he had the Flying Doormat, which is the Carlton player that I'm thinking of.
Starts with D.
Bruce Dool.
Yeah, that's it.
Bruce Dool.
Yeah.
Beard.
Yeah.
Like,
what's the problem?
Tuck from Richmond. Beard.
Yep.
Played the most games in the history of the AFL.
Yep.
Beard. And he just started showing these beards. And he said, you know, like, have you got a problem with these beards, or you just got a problem with these beards? Like, what's the go here? And it was sort of his way of having our backs. And I think there was probably more of that behind closed doors than we ever saw.
Yep.
But like, that's the sort of person he was. Like, he was hard, he was motivating, but he would go into bat with you, for you, no matter what.
So being the most dropped and then back into the side player in West Coast history, what was that like, being so inconsistently sort of in the side, and what were you having to do, especially, I guess, early on? I guess later on you kind of, worked on your craft a little bit more, and I guess maybe you knew your role in the team a little bit more. But early on, I imagine that would have been pretty rattling to go up and down, up and down, up and down. What did you do in that time, and what did you work on to get better and get back a little bit more consistently in the team like you did in the latter part of your career?
Yeah, I mean, even the latter part of my career, I was in and out a lot. Look, like, there's two things. There's one. It's not on coaches or anyone else other than yourself. So, like, I'm very much a self-motivated person. So I've always been realistic. I've always taken ownership of when I haven't played well enough, and like, at stages through my career, I wasn't consistent enough. Whether that be because I didn't uphold consistent enough training, was it because I liked getting a pat in the back and I thought I was going too well, and then I got lazy. Whatever it was, like, I was inconsistent at stages in my career. So you got to put your hand up first. But that self-motivating factor as well works in a very advantageous way as well. That when I used to get dropped, I used to try and seek direct feedback immediately, get real clarity. Why have I been dropped? I didn't fuck around. Like, I was very much if I was dropped, I'd be straight in the coach's office going, tell me why.
Yep.
Tell me why. Sorry, I went to Backstreet Boys last week. It was very
I did see that. Front row, eh?
Yeah, I got kicked out, actually. I actually did. Great concert. And look, I once I had that clarity, you can at least go and work on it. And then you actually have something to go back to them and go, right, okay, I was being too lazy on hit up leads, right? I was getting hit up on too often. Go back to the waffle. Don't let your man get a hit up mark 1 week and you go, just say that. Yep. Not back in the team yet. No worries. Go back in the next week. Do it again. Say that. Yep. By the third week, you do it 3 weeks in a row and you're like, look, I've taken what you've said on board. I've changed what you need. Get me back in the team. And they don't, if you have that clarity and they've been clear to you, they don't have anywhere to go other than put back in the team.
Yeah, definitely.
And then it's back on you. Like, then you need to be consistent. And then if you fall out of consistency, then you can be out of the team. Like, being realistic about it and being honest and not sooking and not blaming other people. Like, I was my own harshest critic.
Yeah.
You know? So all those things go hand in hand. It was difficult. And, like, that's probably by the end of the career, I just, like, that fight, I started to lose a bit of it.
Yep.
It was brutal. Like, you had to.
Totally.
And that's probably, in the end, that over physical. Like, could I have got myself up for another year or two? Probably. Like, I probably could have. But mentally, I couldn't have. I don't sit here and go, gee, I could have played a couple more years.
Yeah.
I was done and dusted. And it was on the back of that fight. Like, every week, you know, having to prove yourself. You get to, I was 32 or 31 when I retired. And it's like, 31 years old, played 200 games.
I'm happy with that. Premiership, got the medal.
Oh, less I'm happy with that, but like I don't know how much I can keep doing this for. I don't know how much I can keep knocking the door and going, hey, what do you want from me? Yeah. Like, I was a team player, I was a role player, like that. They are facts as well. And you know, sometimes I was dropped, sometimes I was in the team. I'm all good with that. Yeah, I'm content with my career.
Now, when you were going out in the ground, was there anyone that you ever got like starstruck upon that you were playing on? Or? So I imagine there would be. I'd be doing it. I
remember like Matty Lloyd back in the day, like one of my first, like second or third season, I played on Matty Lloyd, and he was the first guy that I was like, this guy's a man. I'm a child.
Yeah,
he's a man. He used to have his jumper tucked in, his socks up. You know, he'd throw the grass up in the air.
Doing the whole
and I
thing.
played on him, and there was this one piece of play again. Like, you just have these little. I don't have a great memory of like, what happened in 2009 round 5. I couldn't tell you, but I have these snippets and like. He got the ball, he picked it up, I was on him, I was right up his ass, and he just turned around and just, don't argue, straight my chest. And again, like Daniel Chick just fell to the ground. Like, mate, there's been a paper bag in the wind, just flew off. He swung around and his left, like, dobbed it from 55, and just, even the sound of his voice, like, and I remember, like, Jonathan Brown, he was a man, and he used to intimidate with his voice.
He would be that scary to play on.
He used to speak like this, like, Scully, you're coming down here, mate. You gonna play on me? Like, no, Mr. Brown, no. So, like, those sorts of guys.
Barry Hall, did you play on him?
Yeah, played Baz. I think he'd, like, softened a bit. He'd, like, king hit Brent Staker a few years before, and I think he was sort of
I better not.
Down a little bit. I was never, it's funny, not that I'm a celebrity in any way, but because I've been around people that are in the public eye a lot, I don't think I get too starstruck. I wouldn't say that, but like, people impress me, and like their work rate. Like Matty Priddis, like, hardest worker I've ever seen. You know, he wasn't the most talented guy in the room ever. Like, you look at Chris Judd and Matt Priddis, you can see who's more talented, right? But like Matt Priddis his work rate was like uncompromising. You know, being around like guys like that would be like what I'd say about being starstruck. Like, it was on their work ethic and like being around them.
Yep.
That sort of stuff.
And any players that had any massive bags or anything on you? Any on the I guess being impressed side of stuff where you sit there going, fuck me, I've got the front row seat to this guy absolutely tearing.
Yeah, like, well, I used to sit in the auditorium next to Daniel Kerr.
Yeah.
And so Curry used to have this amazing ability to, appear to not be listening. He'd be scratching the floor with his feet. He'd have his phone. He'd be doing this. He'd water bottle. He'd run in and out to the toilet. He'd always be pissing. Like, he just was this fidgety
stuff going on all the time. Yeah,
and
that brain was ticking.
Yeah, and he'd be whispering in your ear, and he'd be talking and this and that. And Woosha would go, Curry, what do we do here? And he'd literally, within 1 second, no attention, look at the board. All right, we want to have the half forward go here. We want to, send a guy push forward. We're going to be tapping to here and do this, and this. And like, without fail, I never saw him out of his depth. He was right every time. The smartest footy brain out there.
Wow.
Just, application poor.
Yes. Yeah. Focus for it needed to be a little bit more sharp.
Yes.
Yeah, totally. And teammates that you learnt stuff off or maybe helped you throughout your career, was there any that were really influential for you?
Lots. Yeah, so many. Probably ones you wouldn't expect. Like Sam Butler was a real influence on my career. So he was a 2006 Premiership player, the youngest player in that side. He was, 21 when I got to the footy club. So he was sort of that junior leader. He was sort of that, when you get to the footy club, the captain and the leadership group, they're too far removed. Like, I was 17 and these guys are 32, 33, 34 years old. So you look to that tier below. And it's why, like, in footy clubs, that's the really important part is it's the mid-level leaders. It's not necessarily, like, the captain and leadership group, they're always going to be good players and good leaders. Like, I've never once played under someone who, at that level that's not a good leader. So that's not what differentiates teams, because every list on the AFL right now would have a great captain and a great leadership group. I honestly believe that. The mid-tier leaders, the guys that aren't in the leadership group but aren't rookies, they're in the middle that know they can speak up to their senior leaders, they can speak down to their young leaders, their young guys, they integrate. Like, they're the guys. So, like, Sam Butler was one of those. You run the footy trip every year around fines.
Just closing the gap, like you said, between the top and the
like they were
just starting out.
They were real. Like, he was real. Like Lewis Jetta, he had one of the most iconic pieces of leadership I've ever seen on a football field in the 2018 grand final. Liam Ryan, young Indigenous kid, in the third quarter, goes back with the flight, ducks, balks out of the contest. There wouldn't be many guys in the AFL running around that haven't flinched at a contest. Like, it's fucking hard out there. But Liam Ryan's done that in the biggest game of his life, and it was bad. And I'd say 90% of guys just go into their shell after that, and you don't see him for the rest of the game. 3/4 time, Lewis Jetta grabs him in a big hug, because he was a backman at the time, Jets, and Liam forward, so I had to wait till 3/4 time. Big hug. And I was speaking to Jets about this. What did you say to him? He said, just remember how good you are. Don't worry about that. You're going to get another opportunity to show how good you are. And genuinely, 5 minutes into that next quarter, into the last quarter of a grand final, Liam Ryan's first time he's ever played at the MCG, he had the exact moment. Like, he genuinely, it was like it was written in a book. Like, he had the moment, eyes with the footy, coming back. Most guys would have looked again. Liam, eyes on the footy, took the mark, had his moment. And because of Lewis Jetta just saying, hey, mate, it's all good. Like, don't drop your
set
bundle
him up
there.
for that, yeah.
He took the mark, went back and hit the post, mind you. Fucking had a lot of posts in that last quarter. But, he had 4 shots on goal in the last quarter in the grand final, and that was because of Lewis Jetta. Without Lewis Jetta, we don't win the grand final.
Yeah. And you were part of some real successful teams. So 2015, you guys made it into grand final. What was that like, being your first finals experience like that? And how did you guys take the loss and then regroup, and then what did you work on to then obviously set yourself up for success later on in 2018?
The experience initially was amazing, incredible. Like, you lived your whole life. Me as a Geelong fan in the 90s, watching these guys playing grand finals, like, that's what you want to do. And you make it, and you want everyone to be there. Like, I'm a Victorian, but I have a lot of family here in Western Australia, so I was buying people flights and buying their tickets.
Yeah, lots going on.
Mate, I would have had 30 people there that I reckon I personally bought tickets. No, the tickets are $500 each. Big expense. And I'm buying accommodation and flights and handling all the logistics. And it was like, oh shit, it's grand final day. And fuck, like, I'm playing a grand final. I hadn't prepared like I should have. And I think a lot of people in the same basket. So we got out there to play, and I have this memory of feeling like I had sandbags on my feet. Like, I physically felt like I was
the adrenaline just goes.
Yeah, and it was like I was physically ready to play that game. We had a great preparation. It was mentally, I was cooked, which then translated physically. Like, I could not run. And most of our guys were like that, and we got pants by this experience, like, side of men as well, but in Hawthorn.
Well, they've been there, done that many times.
And, the saying goes, you got to lose one to win one. Do I agree with that? Probably not. But losing one teaches you things. So when you get if you get another opportunity, you put a lot into practice. So, that's what I learned out of that. How did I feel? It was awful. One of the worst days of my life. And I don't think about it very often, because you have all this expectation, all this hope, all these people, everyone you love. It's like everyone you've ever known. Can't wait to see you, and then you embarrass yourself. It feels embarrassing. Like, cried after that game. Your family's in the rooms. Horrible feeling. Terrible. So I wiped that basically. 16, we didn't recoup very well. 16, 17, we were nearabouts, but nowhere near what we should have been. To the point where we got to 18, we had a great back end of the year, and we got our opportunity again. And I used what I learned in that loss. So I didn't buy it. No one got a ticket from me. You want to get a ticket? Speak to my wife. Like, anyone ever text me, like, either didn't get a reply. To the point where I turned my phone off on the Thursday. I didn't turn it back on until after the grand final.
Wow, you're joking.
Yeah, so like
just unplugged off the grid.
Yeah. Well, mate, like, because you learn that, okay, you make a grand final, awesome. Means fuck all if you don't win it. It's just another game. It's worse than another game if you lose it. And you can say what you like about, playing a grand final, great experience. And a lot of guys do say that. But I can tell you right now, having sit here and done the loss and done the win The loss is irrelevant, and it's not a good experience.
Winning's way more fun.
It's not, correct. So anyone I ever speak to, like, I've got a lot of guys still playing, a lot of mates. Spoke to a few guys playing for Sydney last year. And any advice, mate? I was like, honestly, mate, you need to prepare to win that game. Don't. I know it's a great experience. The grand final parade, it's awesome, and all the hype, the training session before, everyone, contacting you. It's all great. If you don't win, it's not a good memory. No. It's not a good experience. And I don't care what you say. People who maybe just played and lost in one will say it's a great experience. It's not. It's not, because when you win, that's a
fucking good experience.
So having won it, it's like just do everything you can to win. It sounds like silly advice, like win the grand final.
No, it's very true. I get it. I get that completely.
I wanted to win 2015 as well, but I didn't prepare like I should have.
Yeah,
I prepared 2018 like it was like my last day on earth. Like I would have done anything to win that game.
Yeah,
and like that's the mentality you need. And if you don't have it, what happened to Sydney happens.
Yeah,
you just see Geelong, who've had so much close but no cigars the last 10 years, they just wanted it. Yep. They just wanted it, and they went bang, and Sydney had they could have done nothing, because they weren't there mentally. They had nothing to do with talent that game.
Yeah.
That was want and preparation.
2018, run me through that game. So let's get off the loss. Let's get onto the day. How was your performance? How did you rate it? What was the... Tell me.
I'll give you some good, proper insight, but I can tell you right now, that game doesn't get won without Will Schofield. Look, this has a bit of mayo on it, this story, but
layer it up.
Like 2018, it was probably the hardest year of my life. So I being dropped every week, right? Most dropped player in AFL history. I played 4 round ones in my whole career. 14 years, I was selected 4 times round one.
Yep,
which is a pretty good stat, I think, to play 200 games after. Everyone.
It's unusual.
I want to get picked round one. It's about selection. I got picked round 1, 2018. It was the first game here at Optus Stadium. We played Sydney. Buddy Franklin kicked 8 goals, and we lost our first game. We'd spent the entire preseason wanting to win that game. I didn't get started on Buddy. He kicked 4, and then I was moved on to him, and he kicked the last 4 on me over 3 quarters. He kicked 4 in the first. I got moved up onto him. Kicked 4 in the next 3.
Oh, so you've done a good job.
And I was dropped, and I was fucking livid about it. And I got dropped, and I was in the Monday meeting, and I got a call, and one of my best mates had passed away. He'd been hit by a bus cycling in Sydney, and it was, horrific. And so went from this, getting picked round 1, how good's this, new stadium, blah, blah, to 24 hours later, one of my best mates had died, flew to Melbourne for the funeral. He had a twin. It was a big couple of weeks. I stayed back there, and I really contemplated not coming back to the footy club. I was kind of
other things going on.
I was it was a bit of a perspective moment for me. I was like, well, how important is footy? I had some conversations, got back to the footy club. Took me a while to get my feet again. I was in a pretty bad way mentally, and I was doing a lot of drinking, carrying on a fair bit, which, look, under the circumstances, somewhat understandable. But, in the end, taught me a lot about dealing with things mentally, and got some focus and some real clarity of what I needed to do to get back in the side. And I got back in the side. I started playing some really good footy. It was off the back of my first son being born in June that year, and it sort of gave me a real purpose. It's like, right, this is why I exist. Yeah. It was sort of floating around for a couple of months there, and I was like, right, wake the fuck up. Got back in the side, played some really good footy, played consistent footy. I was in the team for 8 weeks in a row, I think, and did my hammy against Freo 3 weeks out from finals. Got back into the side the week before finals, played a decent game, and the qualifying final against Collingwood was, I kind of thought, well, I've played 8 in a row, back in the side, play a good game, stay in the team. Got a phone call from Simo on it was on the Friday. We'd done captain's run, and sort of selection had sort of been done, and it was a weird, you don't really get calls on a Friday arvo. You're either playing or you're not, and you know by that stage, but I didn't know. Call from Simo. I thought he was calling me about the matchup for the next day with Degoe or Taylor, I don't know, whoever was down there. And he basically started the phone call like, hey, mate, I got some bad news. We're not playing you tomorrow. And I was in a really bad way when my mate passed away. I was in a worse way when Simo dropped me, which, looking back and talking about it now, it makes no sense. the death of family or friends, and compared to footy.
I'm sure that was probably a motivating factor for you. So it's probably like you've channeled that a little bit into that, and then when that's also maybe not quite gone the way that you thought, then that's
and then as a person, my whole life had been around footy. Like my validation of like everything I'd ever done was about football, and I knew that year, I just knew that we were gonna do something special, like, or at least have the opportunity to, and it felt like my whole like life's worth had been like I wasn't gonna get the opportunity to validate myself.
Yep.
Right now, sitting here right now, look, if I don't play that grand final, I'll be fine, still the same person. But right at that moment, it was like
that was everything.
Bricks.
Yep.
And I was in a bad way again. Stuck in bed. Had to. I was first emergency, and I had to be at the ground on the Saturday Arvo, and I couldn't get out of bed. I was fried mentally, cooked. Yeah. And eventually, again, bit of the memory of my mate, thought the only way I get back in this team is rocking up and being there for my mates. And so I rocked up, got out of bed. I remember walking out, forgot my footy boots, had to go back, get my footy boots, came out, put a big smile on my face, a metre from the door, and was like, I'm just going to be a positive person here. Get around all the boys, get them up and about, go upstairs and just sit and watch this miserably. Watch the game. Within the first 10 minutes, Brad Shepherd did his hammy, tore off the bone, and I was his direct replacement. Like there was no one else that could have come in other than me, and it was sort of like, if I hadn't have got myself out of bed and put on a smile, I wouldn't have been able to do that. So it takes me to sort of 2018. So we've had this roller coaster year, right? So down, up with my son, playing good footy, down, dropped. Simo rang me that night of that game and said, "You're playing next week. Like, don't even. Oh no, you're playing in the prelim, mate. Like, don't have to worry about selection. You're back in." So that sort of eased me. We smashed Melbourne. 2018 came around, the grand final. I've got to play on Degoe. That was my only role for the day, right? Play on Jordan Degoe. Don't leave him. Don't have to do anything. Just stop him. He kicked 3 goals. I'll start with that. All on the midfield. Wasn't on the back line.
You'll give that.
You'll learn. You've been around backman before. It's everyone else's fault. It's not my fault. It's the midfield's fault. It's the forwards not chasing up. It's the umpire's fault. It's the crowd too much noise.
Most definitely.
And I've got to be honest, those 3 goals were some of the best goals I've ever seen. None of them on fucking me. None. Right? So I'm in this game and I'm going to war with Jordan Degoe, and that's how I looked at it personally. It was I didn't lose a contest for the day. I didn't come off a minute for the game. I was just out there in a fucking war.
Yep.
And 3 minutes to go, we're down. And I've been instructed, like, do not leave the goal square, do not leave Jordan Degoe. So with 3 minutes to go, literally have this life moment of, like, my footy flashing through my eyes, 30 years of footy. I'm telling you, it was a movie. Yeah.
And the light was
like
spinning
Inception.
around.
It's like Inception, right? Falling through the bathtub. And it was like, there's music.
The ground was shaking.
Right? I'm telling you. And we get the ball and we get a mark just like at the top of the 50 of our defensive 50. And I think right there and there, I'm like, I'm going to win this grand final. I'm going to win this game, like, for everyone. I'm going to be the guy. So there's footage of this as well. This isn't Mayo. There's footage of me.
I'll find it too.
I'm running down the middle of the MCG. I'm running. Jordan Degoe staying in the goal square, never moved. I'm running by myself down the middle, and the ball is on the wing, and I'm next to the ball. And I get to the middle of the MCG. I'm standing in the centre circle. There is, I promise this is real, no one within 30 metres behind me, between me and the ball, in front of me. No one's around me.
Yeah.
And Jack Darling is going up for this mark. Now, that year, Jack Darling was this beast contested mark guy. And I think he's going to mark it and kick it to me. I'm going to get it, run down the ground, bouncing, spinning, balking, run it into the goal square, torp it into the stand, jump into the stand.
Beautiful.
Every room I walk into the rest of my life, I get clapped in. Like, Will Schofield, everybody. Here he is. Right? Here he is. That ball's in the air while I'm thinking this. I'm like, this is the moment. This is this is why my whole life is
exist,
for.
Yeah.
This is my life's meaning. That's reality coming back to it. Jack Darling gets out marked on the wing.
Yeah.
I'm standing in the middle of the MCG with 100,000 people looking at me, and I think, fuck. The ball gets switched. They get the ball. I look back. Jordan Degoe in the goal square by himself. He's like standing there by himself, and I'm running back. Can't run faster than the ball. Doesn't matter how fit you are.
Should have kept doing those 800
I'm watching the
metres.
ball. It's like, it doesn't matter. I should have gone to Europe. I shouldn't have played footy. My meaning of life was not be in this game. It gets there, and out of nowhere, probably from the pie stand, because at that stage he's one of the fattest blokes in the AFL. Jeremy McGovern comes out of nowhere, and he's lazy. And he's not because he's covering me. It's because he's walking up the ground. He wasn't trying to win it. He was lazy, jumped in front of De Goey, and that is the mark that
is
starts the
one.
moment.
Yep.
Right? The moment.
Yep.
Right? Bruce McAvan, the moment. McGovern gets it, kicks it to Vardy. Vardy, the dumbest bloke in our team. The dumbest bloke. You know, Ruckman? They're dumb. Sean Darcy, love him. Good mates with him. Dumb. All of them. Dan Cox, dumb. Mananui, dumb. He's got a big shin guard on his leg. He gets it. He closes his eyes. He kicks it off his shin guard, right? He kicks it to Liam Ryan, who is
just chaos
the only
ball.
person in this whole thing that actually does what he's meant to do. He takes a hanger. He gets the ball. He plays on quickly. He does what he's meant to do. So it's McGovern to Vardy to Ryan. Ryan plays on to Sheed, right? Who plays on.
Yeah.
Right. Sorry. He's shepherded by Junior Rioli. He plays on. The umpire goes, no, go back and take your kick, Dom.
Don't worry, all
Dom,
good.
Dom Sheed's never kicked a goal like that in his entire life. I promise. He hasn't.
I've got no doubt of that either.
Right? He's never done it before. He's never done it again. But in that moment, he does it by pure luck, right? So it's Vardy to Ryan to Sheed from the boundary, right? But none of that happens without Will fucking Schofield standing in the middle of the MCG.
And having his moment where the tunnel's going. And
Correct.
Well done, my friends. Well done. You've completely set that all up. That is awesome.
Look, there's tiny bits of mayo involved in that story.
Couldn't.
But I would say, like, I'll show you the footage after.
I've got no doubt. It's on
YouTube.
Do you know why I've seen that so many times? My dad is a die-hard Collingwood supporter.
Oh, no.
Yeah, yeah. So
boy.
when that happened, right, he went
mate.
white as a sheep. Like I've never seen. I've probably seen him cry. I reckon twice in my life, and that was one of them. That was not good.
Eddie Maguire and his son sitting up there watching.
I'm not joking. Eddie Maguire, his exact expressions in a Collingwood game is my dad's.
I can
they
imagine.
semi-look a little bit alike too. So
I can just imagine. I mean, like, ripping your heart out sort of stuff, right?
oh, fucking awesome. That is unbelievable. And then what was the after party like? What was that like? What were you celebrating with the team like?
Oh, mate, honestly, like, 15 was probably bigger than 18 because 15, you're, like, blowing off steam.
Yep.
You're so angry with yourself and you're trying to get blackout drunk, basically. 18 was just relief. Like, we just hung around. Like, we didn't really go out that much. We had a big, I
was going to ask you, was it more of a relief feeling rather than a super happy and joyful
and
feeling?
from the year that I had, mate, like, I remember after that game, the moment the siren went, like, I've never had a feeling like it. I will never have another one. It was just like this. Talk about adrenaline. Like, you would have had adrenaline. Like, this feeling was like the noise and the feeling of like just like scream. I was just screaming, like, and just like running for like 30 seconds. After that happens, you're just like in a clump. You're just cooked. And I felt like that the whole week, really. Like, I was just so done. I'd given everything possible. Yeah. We had a big party the night of, like, as you do, but, like, you know, nothing spectacular.
Yeah. All the juice and all the emotion was left on the ground, not left for anything for after.
Like I always get asked about the after. Like, honestly, I've had way bigger parties not winning the premiership. The premiership was just, and we just sort of hung around for a week, and then we went to Hong Kong. Shouldn't have done that. Like, that was 10 days after the flag. We'd been drinking for 10 days, and I felt like I almost died there. Been like so
just over it. Yeah.
Oh, just like we didn't need a footy trip after winning the flag, but you have to plan the footy trip like in the middle of the year.
Yeah, in anticipation that maybe you might not win. Yeah.
So, after party, done, but, you know, the party was on the field.
I can imagine. That's fucking awesome. I love that story. That is so good. I reckon you've told that a few times too.
Nah, first time right here. Poddy Majic, exclusive.
And then
I might have told it a couple times.
And then 2020 was your last year.
Yep.
Was that kind of, like you said, you kind of got to that point and you went, fuck me, I'm still in and out, and that was just the juice done for you? Or was it a little bit of a push from West Coast as well, going, we're going to go elsewhere, or what was that?
Nah, look, they were pretty respectful. I think probably if I didn't jump, they might have pushed me, but I went to them first. We were in the hubs that year, if you remember. So I had a young son and a pregnant wife.
Yeah.
I was pretty vocal in the media that year. You probably won't remember. Like, I was pretty vocal about, like, this is a complete bullshit that we're going over here and doing this. Yep. Mainly because I was running 2 businesses at the time, and I had, like, a pregnant wife with a little kid, and I didn't want to leave him because I hadn't signed up for that. Yep. And that's sort of what my mentality was. So I probably had the wrong mentality to, it would have been better if I was, okay, well, no matter what's thrown at me, I'm just going to, soldier on. But I was at the stage of my career, I didn't really feel like that. And
like you said, other things in your life pop up, and it becomes different priorities.
So I put a fair bit of weight on. We shut down as a league for like 8 weeks, and I should have been in here at Poddy Majic.
Yeah. I didn't see you here.
Well, I'll tell you what, I saw me in a pantry eating pastry because I was fat. But then again, pretty much like how my whole career went, it was sort of like Simo put it to me. He's like, you want to be here or you want to go home? You just go home if you want. Do you want to be here? You want to influence, these young kids? You want to show them how to do it? And I sort of, I thought, I do. So I lost 15 kilos in 5 weeks.
Wow.
I just slipped. Like I went psycho. Diet was crazy. And, you look back and you think, why didn't you just do that your whole career? Well, it's probably not sustainable, to be honest.
No, totally not. No.
I got myself back in the team and, I played a couple of games leading into finals. We finished 5th that year. And I wasn't played in the elimination final against Collingwood, which was here.
Yep.
We lost by 4 points. And I don't have many regrets in footy or in life, really. But I would have loved – I still don't regret. I would have loved to have played that game. I think you probably ask Simo. I'll have to have him on back chat and ask him. I reckon if he had his time again, he would have picked me in that game.
Yep.
That didn't. That's how life goes. And my final vision of AFL footy was – standing in the race, watching the last moment. Tom Cole had it, I remember it, and he had a chance to get it inside 50, and Collingwood players came from nowhere and smothered it, and it would have been this final kick in and, Leo Barry type chance of a mark, but smothered, game over, and it was siren gone, and I was like, oh, fuck, I'm done. And I just walked back into the change rooms and sat down by myself and cried.
Wow. And it's just crazy how it is just over like that
as well, isn't it? It was literally like that. It was, game on. If we had have won, I think there were some injuries. I might have had a chance to come back in that next week and, it goes from that to done and dusted.
Wow. And then from retiring, though, you have not been you're just chilling here, just retiring. No. You've got businesses going on, you've got projects going on, you've got back chat going on. Tell us a little bit about, what you're up to at the moment.
Look, I don't think we're competitors. I will start with that.
No, definitely not.
I do like, I really like trying to.
Straight up, I look at yours and I go, fuck. You're 88 episodes in. I go, fuck me. I want mine sounding this good when I get to 80. You know what I mean? So it's actually a form of inspiration to me I'm
the same. It's like you look at everyone doing it, and look, people listen to podcasts, and people listen to yours. Probably don't have time to listen to back chat, and vice versa. I don't think no one's rolling around, listening to 10 pods. It's like people like what they like, and you can't force them to do anything. So you just got to keep making content that's enjoyable to make. Probably first, rather than we'll do this really cool interview with this cool person, and sometimes it's like that. But I think mostly the stuff we do with Backchat, I enjoy doing. And it's some people do like it, but some people don't either. And I don't look around going, got to beat that person. I want to be the best, though. I want to grow our audience. I want to sell merch. I want to do cool live shit. Last year we went to the F1. We covered McLaren with Daniel Ricciardo. We went to Belgium and Amsterdam. Did the UFC a few weeks back where just some amazing moments. So sometimes you get to stop and go,
wow,
this is so cool.
Yeah.
Israel Adesanya, I'm a massive UFC guy, and he did this pop-up shop and no one knew about it, and the media were all invited, no one came other than us. It was just back chat. No one else.
Unreal.
And we just sat down with him for half an hour and did an interview with him, and I was like, what the fuck is going on here? He's one of the most famous people probably in sport, and he's in Perth, and no one's sitting down with him. Just stuff like that, it's been cool. So what we've grown with back chat, we've done that, we've got aspirations to be more than just a podcast. Similar to what you're doing here, really. You got your podcast, and that's great. But you've got other avenues for what you're doing as well. And we're doing the same. We're probably in the podcasting world. We make podcasts. So we're sort of doing probably close to 30 pods a month at the moment with double episodes with Backchat a week, and do the Shelter Footy Cast. And got a basketball show and a couple of corporates that do stuff with us. So we want to keep building that. But overall, people ask us sort of how do you sort of build it all and stuff. It's I like being sort of, I don't know, true to yourself, but I like being myself. I like trying to just be me, and with mainstream media, it's really difficult to do that.
Well, I was going to say, what I actually like most about doing, Everything Poddy Majic, my podcast, whatever, and it sounds like you're the exact same, when you've been in a workplace where it's, okay, cool, this is how you train, this is how you do your thing, this is how you're told what to do, and there's rules to everything that you do. But when you've got your own thing, there's no rules about anything that you can do. You can go this way, you can go that way. You make your own rules as you go. So
couldn't agree more.
Yeah, so it's way more rewarding because it can just go in so many more different pathways and more exciting pathways for you than anything else.
It's harder.
Oh,
it's
way
a lot
harder.
easier. Go and get your 9-to-5 job. Get paid really good money, but you're building someone else's thing.
Yeah,
right. That's probably how I justify it. It's a lot fucking harder doing your own thing.
Yeah,
like it's a 7-day, 24 hours a day. Never switch off. You never. Well, I feel like I'm never good enough. Like I'm always like, right, okay, I did that. Now what am I doing?
Yep.
You know, what's this? What and it's harder. Like I find my career in media like so much harder than footy. Footy, rock up, train, be competitive, beat the next guy, and just like dominate people. It's like that easy.
Yeah.
Like be here on time, don't fuck up, win.
Yep.
Like how easy. At the time you think it's like this is the hardest ever. It's so much public pressure and so much like this and that. It's like you're getting paid a shitload of money to work out and execute. Like there's hard parts about it. But like if you put it in reality and put it into the real world, out here is bloody brutal. You know, and
Most definitely.
And you gotta put the hours in and put a lot more hours into this than I did footy.
Yeah, definitely. And is there one podcast that you've done thus far that you're like, oh my God, that was so sick, either because you really like talking to that person or it was just a good story, or
Like we had some good stuff last year. Shawnee Mack was awesome. Like
that was a really good one. I really enjoyed that. Yeah.
Like
old school.
Hey, like, can we swear on this podcast? I was like, yeah, like shit cockballs. Like just like started like going nuts. And just like great stories and really honest. I like the honest ones. I honestly, we've had some really famous people on. Justin Langer, probably our most recognisable person, and it went wild. But that was nowhere near my favourite. Like not even close. It was a bit controversial. I don't do controversy very well.
Neither do I, man.
I don't like that shit.
Yeah, neither do I. It affects me.
Yeah, I don't.
A lot. I don't like people coming for me. I just go like, Correct. I don't want that.
Correct. And that blew up beyond controllable, mate. Like we were on every back page in the paper in Australia. We had BBC call me. It was stupid, and it didn't feel very nice to do, and I didn't like that at all. The ones I love are just like random footy stories, like Anthony Koutafidis, like that was cool. Like, like Dustin Fletcher, like speaking to him, but story like Quinton Lynch, like he's not like this 300 game player, but like where he came, he's a rookie list guy, had this cult following, he's throwing his glove in the air, shit like that. Cool it's cool, like. Yeah, like I don't know. I like the stories over the the
most
name,
definitely,
the
most
name.
definitely.
I couldn't care less. Like I couldn't care less who I speak to be honest.
And if there's one person that you could go him back, or
I'd love Peter Bolt back on the pod. We did him externally.
Yep,
I'd love to get him sitting in a room.
Yep,
quite. But that's the thing. Right now, if you said to me, "Hey, I was speaking to Pete. He'd love to come on the pod and speak about what's going on in this," fuck, I don't know if I'd be able to do it.
Yeah,
like, I don't know how controversial that would be.
Totally.
I don't know how like. Much attention's good. That's what you're trying to do, right?
But when
an
it's,
audience, but it's like that type of attention. It's like, geez, I don't know. So, dream guest. I'd love to sit down with I'd love to sit down with guys in Western Australia who've been a big part of footy. Like Nat Fyfe's probably biggest name in Freo, alongside Pavlich and Mundy. Nick Nananui, we still haven't had him on the pod. Like guys like that, even the coaches, Adam Simpson, Justin Longmire.
That would be good. The coaches would be a cool little insight. I reckon.
just. And hopefully keeping that insight and that reputation that I think I have with, like, I'd use my time in the media as a player to know what doesn't work and know what people don't like, know what, like, people don't